tough week last week with 3 matches as opposed to 2. How do you feel like the team got through all 3 matches?
Yeah, it was a very tough week. Every week in the GLIAC is tough. We have a very difficult conference, and there's a lot of parity. So, yeah, I feel like when at this point in the season, you're kind of living a week or a lifetime in every day. It's, everything is hyper focused, and there's just a lot going on. So, to be honest with you, it feels like it's Tuesday, and it feels like the Northern match was like 3 weeks ago because just so much happens at this point of season. And then, the result happens, and then you quickly turn your attention to the next opponent. So the Northern match was an epic one for sure. We had moments where it was just, you could feel the tension in the gym, and it was just such an epic match. There's not really words that can properly describe it. Obviously we wanted to win that one. We had 3 opportunities to do so. But Northern is a very good team, and they've really gotten better this season, and we're still kind of figuring ourselves out at times. But our goal is to finish on a high note, and continue to improve. But the Northern match itself was epic. You can look at the scores and you can see that. There were moments where we were just absolutely awesome. And then there were moments where Northern was just absolutely awesome too. And then every play in between as well. So, I talked to a couple people that had witnessed the game, some people that were like familiar with volleyball and some people that were not. And everyone was like, wow, what a game. Unfortunately one team had to lose and unfortunately it was us, but wow. Yeah, just a great game. And then, quick turnaround with having to go out of town again. We left on Thursday. The Parkside match on Friday was particularly tough. We started out hot, and then Parkside kind of found their stride about halfway through the first set. We were up by 9 for quite a while, and we weren't able to capitalize. So, one of the biggest themes this week was really how do we push through those moments where we have the advantage and where we're up on top? Like, why are sometimes we afraid to just close it out, or why are we unable to finish? So we've been constructing a lot of drills in practice where you're forced to finish. So, it comes down to a lot of mental toughness and resiliency that we're working on. And thankfully we were able to rebound and put together a solid performance against Roosevelt on Saturday.
Can you say enough about looking at Maddie Torla's season, that she's come in and she's done everything you could possibly ask of her at this point. I think she's 4th in the team in kills, and just continues to be consistent when you need her to be.
Yeah, and the stats are one thing, but the thing that I really appreciate about Maddie Torla is that she shows up every day with the same mentality. She could. The match that she had 18 kills, the 2 matches that she had 18 kills, and the matches where she has 3 or 4 kills, there's really no difference in her personality or how she's approaching it. Obviously she's a little bit frustrated when she's not scoring as much as she wants to, but she comes through with big blocks, and she comes through with good off-blocker digs and, other stuff that's not necessarily statted. She makes sure that she contributes in little ways too. So it's not always the direct statted things that matter. There's so much that happens that are not, part of the official stats or anything like that. And she's very much a giving personality. Every time, there's an error, everybody makes errors, but every time there is an error, she immediately turns to her teammates, looks them in the eye and is like, I'll be better. Give me the ball again. And you can't really ask for anything more than that. That's exactly what we're looking for. So, I trust players that have that type of mentality, that understand that, yes, you're going to make errors. That is the game, and that is all sports. There's always going to be errors in some things, but it's the ones that are resilient and, can turn around and be like, you have to trust me with the ball because I trust myself, even though this last one wasn't what I wanted. Just give me another shot and I got this. Versus players that are like, oh, please don't give me the ball anymore. There's a difference, whether said or unsaid. But yeah, for a freshman to come in and be like that, that's awesome. Maddie Kreider has a lot of those similar personality traits as well. So, I trust them a lot with the ball. They're excellent people off the court as well. So yeah, awesome job for freshmen.
Well, and I wanted to get to Maddie Kreider too. I mean, her numbers don't leap off the page necessarily, but it's a lot of the little things that she does, and where she positions the ball, how she plays in serve and everything else. She's doing so much as a freshman that you really need her, don't you?
Yeah. And, Maddie Kreider, she always comes every day ready, willing to work. Coaches can't teach hustle. It's just something either you have it or you don't. And even when she's not having a great touch day or something like that, maybe the sets are just not quite what she wants, she's still going 100% for the ball and she's still putting forth the effort that she has for that day. So there's never a question of energy or intention or hustle or any of that coming out of her, which is great. And a lot of our players are that way. So, we're trying to build a culture around people like that. But yeah, Maddie Kreider, she's just going to get better for sure. She has excellent skills. So now it's just like, fine tuning it, getting her hitters in stride more often. We're working on pushing the ball out more on the pin. So we're watching quite a bit of film and giving a lot of feedback to her. So there's technical things that we can work on, with location and consistency and all that stuff. And then there's a whole aspect of decision making, very similar to a quarterback in football. We don't have nearly as many plays or situations, but you have to read the play. You have to read where the middle's going. There's a lot happening in the periphery that you need to be aware of. So, we're working on decision making and breaking down film and being like, okay, was this the best choice to set this person in this moment? Could we have gone back to this person maybe instead of going away from this person? There's so many things that go into being a good setter. So she's just going to continue to develop, but she definitely has the right mindset for it.
What do you like in the growth of Paige from early in the season, into starting her sophomore year into where she is now, where you need her to play the way she's playing?
Yeah, Paige has gotten better this season for sure. To be honest, early in the season, she wasn't having the performances that she was super happy with, and she did exactly the right thing in calling meetings with us and asking, how can I get better? Asking to watch film, asking to get extra reps with all three of the setters, because we had so many lineup changes. So, that's a big part of growth, is taking on the extra work and initiating the extra work on your own. So yeah, it's a really good personality trait again for, to have someone like Paige who's able to understand that, okay, this is not where I want to be. I'm not happy with this performance. What do I do about it instead of just stewing about it?
Looking ahead here, you've got 4 matches left at home. What are you hoping to get out, especially this weekend, given the fact you're seeing Ferris State again, and where do you feel like things are at?
I think there's a lot of opportunity to be had. There's only 2 weeks left, which does not seem like a lot, but there's so much that can happen across the league. As we saw with some crazy results this past weekend with Grand Valley and Ferris and, Parkside just having the weekend of their lives, you never know with this league. So we're going to focus on the things that we can control, like our energy, our attitude, sticking to our strategies, stuff like that. The teammateness. Our bench has really come alive personality-wise in the last couple of weeks. It's easy to focus on just the people on the court, but there's so much culture and so much support that's happening for the bench players, or from the bench players, I mean. So, if you get a chance, you take a peek at the bench and kind of listen to what they're saying. They're starting to get more of a presence in themselves of like saying cheers at certain times and, just getting more animated, which really makes the people on the court feel supported. And volleyball is such a social sport that we really do need our bench, we call them the bench mob, to be, on point. So, I'm proud of the people that aren't necessarily giving or getting the opportunities to contribute on the court in the matches at the moment, of stepping up on the sidelines and still being contributors.
Coach, with as much as the league could shake up in the last 2 weeks, having 4 matches at home, is that some, kind of an advantage to be like, okay, we don't have to worry about travel. We're at our home base for the last 4?
Yeah, I sure hope so. It's impossible to say what the other teams are feeling and stuff like that, but I know for us, we have been on the road so much this year. And since we got the schedule, since we've been planning the schedule back in like February, we've been saying all year, man, we're going to be happy when November rolls around because we're finally going to be home, home for 2 weeks. I get to see my son on Thursdays for a chance. So, there's a lot of positives that come out of being at home in the final 2 weekends. We've got senior night that's going to be happening. We can finally rest a little bit in the sense of we don't have to be in a hotel all the time. So, yes, we're very thankful that it's finally the time of year where we can enjoy being at home for a while.